we have a huge mental health issue within our community. It's from years of deployments, it's from guys being changing duty stations constantly, things that happen while wearing the uniform. Coming out of the global war on terror, we've realized that the outdoors and outdoor recreation, and this has been the case for known history, getting our guys and gals outside, getting them in the outdoors is immensely therapeutic. They need a new mission. We're so mission driven. And the idea basically comes down as provide great services to our community so we can help treat a lot of those underlying issues and also give us a new mission when we get out of the uniform. And for those of us who are still wearing the uniform, like myself, guys who are transferring base from base, give them a community that they know they can go to each base. Hey, I hunted my entire life in Georgia, but I just got transferred to Groton Naval Base. How do I get involved in hunting and fishing? Well, the Armed Forces Initiative is there to help that guy do that and hopefully not have him feel so isolated and give him a community.
All right, welcome to another Hunt Fish New England podcast. Today we have Cody Fongemi from New England BHA AFI. If people are not sure what BHA is, I highly recommend you listen to our previous episode with BHA New England coordinator Chris Borgatti. He'll give you the deep dive into BHA and their work. But today we're going to focus specifically on the Armed Forces Initiative of BHA. Did I get the acronym right on this one, Cody?
Yeah, you did. You did.
All
So,
right, go
first
ahead.
off, thanks for having Chris on last week. I think I got a tough episode to follow up to there. He kind of talked me up. Um, and Chris is a great guy. I can listen to that man talk for hours.
Yeah.
He's super knowledgeable and he has the passion. He really does. Conservation runs in his blood, probably more than any person I've ever met before. Just an outstanding guy. So thanks for having him on to talk about BHA's mission. It's a mission we're all passionate about, and I'm in the New England liaison for the Armed Forces Initiative. So basically, Chris talked about how, about 20 years ago, a bunch of guys got around a campfire and they were like, we need an organization that protects our public lands and waters, encompasses everything. Well, a few years ago, that same organization started looking at their membership and they noticed a huge chunk of our membership was active duty military personnel and veterans. So that started to see if they started to see that, wow, that's a noticeable percentage. Why is that? What can we do with that? And the idea came about to form the Armed Forces Initiative. Um, and there's a lot of really good science backing that up now. Unfortunately, Chris explained it really well that it's a big issue. So I'll break it down for you. Basically, first bat is we have a huge mental health issue within our community. It's from years of deployments. It's from guys being changing duty stations constantly. It's from just the little things that happen while wearing the uniform. And over the past few years, coming out of the global war on terror, we've realized that the outdoors and outdoor recreation, and this has been the case for known history. There are recorded cases from after World War One of them teaching American soldiers and French soldiers specifically how to fly fish after World War One, and that was therapeutic for them. And one, getting our guys out, getting our guys and gals outside, getting them in the outdoors is immensely therapeutic. The second avenue was be like, give us a purpose. A lot of people get out of the military and they don't necessarily they need a new mission. We're so mission driven. And the idea basically comes down as provide great services to our community so we can help treat a lot of those underlying issues that we have, whether that be stress, anxiety, post-traumatic stress syndrome, all these different things, and also give us a new mission when we get out of the uniform. And for those of us who are still wearing the uniform, like myself, I'm an active duty guardsman, of guys who are transferring base from base, give them a community that they know they can go to each base. Hey, I hunted my entire life in Georgia, but I just got transferred to Groton Naval Base. How do I get involved in hunting and fishing? Well, the Armed Forces Initiative is there to help that guy do that and hopefully not have him feel so isolated and give him a community. I know that's a lot, but that's a nutshell of why we have the AFI.
No, that's great. That's great. And Cody, thank you for what you do. And right now
Don't mention it.
you're active duty, and you're still actively involved as liaison for AFI. Talk about your introduction to AFI and BHA in general.
Well, I think I got kind of I want to backtrack a bit. I kind of got I went to college for political science, And I kind of got interested in conservation because the bulk of my research, my thesis was on Theodore Roosevelt. And
Okay.
as every conservationist knows, Theodore Roosevelt is the principal of the North American conservation model.
Right.
He's the end all be all. So that piqued my interest. Then as I, came home from college, I hadn't yet joined the military. I worked in politics when I was in college. I ran a few campaigns. I was on a few presidential campaigns. I decided I wanted out of politics because there was a lot of people talking and not getting stuff done. And
Sure.
those passion issues I cared about, like, to me made sense. I wasn't a hunter. I fished a little bit. I enjoy the outdoors. I enjoyed our public waters, but I wasn't hunting or anything yet. And then like you mentioned that, I think on your podcast you stumbled upon Meat Eater,
Oh yeah.
and that was like I stumbled upon Meat Eater, and that like mind
Yeah,
mind
it's like where's
opening
this been
moment
my
for
whole
me.
life? Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't come from a hunting family at all. um so I was like, you know what, let's get a bow. So I asked for a bow for Christmas, and I got it. And I listened to a lot of Meat Eater, but in the course of listening to Meat Eater, listening to Rogan, all those guys,
Yeah.
I stumbled upon, doing a lot of reading because I'm a reader. um I stumbled upon BHA, and I joined as a regular member. And then about 2 years ago, they started advertising the Armed Forces Initiative. I think I was one of those initial guys who like signed up, but nothing was really happening in the New England area.
Hmm.
And COVID was crazy and everything going on. So this past fall, I reached out to Andy, who's one of the AFI board members for the entire country. We had connected, and I said, "Hey, what are you guys doing in New England?" And he connected me, and we were able to connect and meet up at our great duck camp
Nice. Um, so what about like what year did you become liaison?
this year. So we had our duck camp. So Chris spoke about it on the podcast. Basically, they realized there was a need to do something here in the Northeast,
Hmm.
including New York, and they targeted that beautiful Parker River Refuge up there in the North Shore off Newburyport. You were up there the other day, Chris's
Incredible,
backyard.
incredible
It,
spot. Couldn't
Beautiful.
believe it. I was
I
like,
am in love with
yeah,
I'm in
yeah,
love with that area now. And we got a bunch of us went up there, a bunch of veterans, active duty folks, went up there. And give me 1 second.
no worries.
Yeah, we got up there and we hunted for about 4 days. And in that time, hunting, fishing, not fishing, we hunted ducks. So we got a crash course in everything duck related. So I had never hunted marshland duck before in my life. I'm in Connecticut. We, if you don't have a duck boat, you're not going on the Long Island Sound. So I was hunting ponds out of my canoe, my kayak.
Got it.
So getting out there in the marsh. Have you hunted a marsh before?
Never.
Insane, different world. Like instantly, I'm like, this is awesome. And we had all sorts of weather. It was like 50 day. Then the next day was rain all day and was just ducky weather.
Okay.
Um, and a bunch of us got connected. With Chris being the New England guy, Andy from the national board, Trevor Hubbs, who's Chris's colleague for all the Armed Forces Initiative. And
Got
we
it.
had a great group of veterans and active duty folks up there. We sat down, we came up with a plan, and we left that pretty motivated. I was fortunate enough to kind of been peer selected to lead a team. So we're brand new. We're the newest AFI as of now. And it's tough because New England's such a weird little beast. You got six
Yep.
small states, the
Hmm.
exclusion of Maine, really
Yeah,
six
Maine's
small
its own
states.
country. Yeah.
Yeah. But we mirrored ourselves off how the New England BHA board operates.
Got it. So yeah, I kind of paused when you were saying when you're talking about um, that specific duck event.
Yeah,
So I was like, wait, that couldn't have been the first AFI event for New England, but it sounds like it was.
it was. Yeah. So that's what's crazy about it is it was. So a bunch of us drove up there. And we stayed in an Airbnb right there on the island, on Plum Island there. And it was a great few days full of game. We were eating wild game that everyone brought. I cooked venison the first night
Nice.
from my harvest in the spring, I mean the fall, excuse me.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Rifle season here in Connecticut. I was getting a little desperate there towards the end, but it worked out.
It's
Um,
that season's there for a reason.
I was just getting ready to get out of the stand and I heard all this ruckus and these two yearling does come by that I see all the time. I'm like, see you girls next year. And then this atypical buck came through. I was like, oh, see you, buddy. Um, so
Nice.
we did, yeah, it was good. It was good. But so we all had a lot of just great conversation. And that's, I think, the root of the AFI is getting guys who have our shared experiences together, guys and gals, and talking about those shared experiences. And it's a lot easier when you're surrounded by your community to talk about that stuff.
Mhm.
And there's some joking, some laughing, and it was cool because we had a lot of folks from BHA traditionally there. Mike Woods, who's the New England chair. Um, we had some folks from New York, and of course Chris was there. So they got to see as their first exposure to the AFI why the AFI is important. Um, they got to see our guys connect and what we were passionate about and what we could offer to BHA's general mission as well.
And just for my understanding, and of course the listeners too, to attend like an AFI event like the duck hunt that you talked about,
Mm-hmm.
is that strictly for veterans? Is it strictly for active duty, or it's open to anybody involved with the military?
Anyone who served, including our Gold Star families. So those are
Okay.
family members of folks who have unfortunately fallen in the service of the country. Um, so pretty wide. We get all sorts of folks. We had a bunch of prior service guys. There was a few of us who were still I think there was only two of us who were still active duty. Me and my XO, my executive officer Raphael, who's a nuclear submarine officer down at Groton. Me and him were the only two active. I think we were the only two active duty guys there, actually. Yeah. So
You
we
just
get a
did a
good
little
mixture.
bio on him on the Instagram page, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly.
Yeah,
And
we did.
he's out doing a turkey hunt in Montana. Is
Yeah.
that right?
So that's cool. So AFI, again, our main route is to give guys the new mission of conservation. So let me back how our camps are kind of set up. The duck
Okay.
camp was set up was we did some duck hunting in the morning, and in the afternoon we had some awesome classes from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife folks who are there, some of the local trusts that are there, mass wildlife folks, and they kind of show us how the ecosystem works, what we can do to help protect that ecosystem that we all know is so valuable
Hmm.
to our heritage as being hunters and anglers. Um, so the objective is by experiencing that hunt, doing conservation, we can give our guys a new mission of going out there and pursuing conservation as, like, I keep using the word mission, but as the new mission, like
Yeah, yeah.
something to get done.
Yep.
Um, this bigger camp out in there in Montana right now. It's people from all over the U.S. You apply. We make sure everyone's credentials are good, and make sure you've served, and there's some other things for depending on what the hunt is. And we bring guys out to those different camps nationally, and they do stuff like really it's focused on leadership development, uh, teaching guys about conservation, why it's an important mission, but doing what we just did here in New England, bringing a bunch of guys together, getting them motivated about the mission, showing them what we can do, and then setting them loose on the world to go have a positive change.
Got it. So what is your outreach to individuals who you might want to get involved in AFI? What is like the outreach on your team side? Like how to get
So
people
my team,
involved?
we're a freshman team here. We're not even 6 months in yet, so we're learning a lot of things. But naturally, AFI does a really good job with our social media. Um, we just had a really great meeting actually this past week with our social media guy, and we all learned we got to step our Instagram game up because Instagram's super heavy on the algorithms.
Yes.
So social media is a great way to get in touch with us. Members can go on BHA and they can sign up for an armed forces membership, which is a few dollars cheaper than a traditional membership. It's a thank you to the service for our veterans and our active duty folks who joined. All the same perks, but when someone signs up for the AFI membership, it lets me know. I get an updated list every few months. It lets me know, hey, veteran so and so or active duty guy so and so lives in New Hampshire. So now I can shoot him an email and let him know, hey, we got a team in New England. Love to have you come out to something.
Okay,
Um,
got it.
so social media, AFI itself, go on the website, look us up, and then we're starting to do events here and going into the latter half of this year. We're gonna be doing some pint nights, which you've heard of,
Hmm.
targeted around Groton Naval Base specifically, because Groton's are really only active duty base. You got Hanscom Air Force Base as well, which will be a priority probably early next year. Um, but we have boots on the ground in Groton right now, so that's gonna be important for us. Um, and then we're gonna try to do a small game event with another veteran uh, up in Vermont, John. He has a little farm up there, and he does some great community survivalist style farming, but also he does a great survival course. So we're gonna have some small game up there, and then we're gonna make our duck camp an annual camp every single year. We're gonna try to identify leaders, not only from New England, but see if, let's say, Michigan needs some leadership development and they want to send a guy out here. That's the goal, is to turn that same duck camp and pair that with a conservation event. My Massachusetts state rep, Kevin, is working hard on trying to get us some projects set up to help clean up that refuge right now.
Gotcha. Let's go back to the duck camp. You had mentioned that, and when we were talking initially, before we started recording, you had mentioned that you might start using some terminology that I might not understand, just because,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's right now you're still active duty, and it's just kind of, it's sometimes a different language in terms of describing certain details. Do you think that at the duck camp, for example, that gives like an opportunity for whether it's active duty or veterans to kind of use that terminology or that different language, and does it create like a comfort in a way, or like do you
I
know what I'm trying to
think,
say?
yeah, I think it does. I think when people get together, it's kind of like, oh, this is how it is. And we all
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah.
I think it's also interesting for folks who haven't served, who are at these events, to just
Hmm.
kind of see kind of a little bit about our culture as
Right.
well. It's one of those unique subcultures of America. Chris talked about Jamin from Mountain Bird Media,
Yeah.
and Jamin got thrown in right with us, and he killed it. And he was asking questions the entire time, like wanting to talk about what AFI is and like what this means, why. I was the only Air Force guy there, so I was getting roasted every 3 seconds for being the only Air Force guy. We were getting rained on, and they were like, "Oh, it's raining. You must not be used to this." Um, so he was asking questions about like, "Hey, why is this happening?" I'm like, "It's just kind of like that inner service rivalry," which was cool. And Jamin came out, I think, and everybody who attended who wasn't in the service came out with a much better understanding of our culture and why programs like the AFI are important, and why the AFI can tackle some really big problems and get it done.
Yeah, I kind of wish I went to duck camp, because I'm a little hesitant on this podcast out of being respectful to you and
No,
anyone
okay.
listening, just because there's so much that I don't know about the culture. Um, Despite, of obviously being a huge supporter and forever in debt to,
Well, we'll have to get you
people in the
up there for the
military.
next one to swing through.
Absolutely. Um, all right, so being involved in like the duck camp, for example, it kind of
Mm-hmm.
creates, brings people back to that culture of that they would have in like the military. I would assume it kind of decreases isolation in a way that people might otherwise experience, like in like civilian life, as people start to get like, whether it's they're back on leave or back after serving. I'm sure going to like the camp, for example, decreases that kind of isolation.
Yeah, no, it's a big thing. I think we see that nationally. I
Hmm.
think, you get veterans involved in a community, um, it gets them feeling like they're part of something again. Uh, Especially when we get folks who've spent their entire careers. I'm talking, we got some people who have served 20 plus years, um, and they get out. It's kind of, haven't been out yet, but understanding what I've heard from my friends who have retired and folks I've talked to at these different events, it's kind of like, oh no, where's my tribe?
Got it.
Um, and having these events, one, gives them the tribe, and like gives them that new mission of, hey, we're gonna go out and tackle a conservation project. And that's why I think we really uniquely positioned to get out there and do some real dirty work with conservation, like those projects that require a little more tactical skill. Like, hey, we have to backpack 10 miles into the woods here to fix this trailhead. No problem. We've all been doing that for years. So
Yeah.
we we have a very unique operation like mentality. When we do this in the military, we have these things, they're con ops, they're operation plans. So every event we do has a con op, and it gets sent out to every member, and every member, no matter what branch, knows how to read that. Hey, be here at 0615. Cool. Everybody's there about these 30 minutes early. I think Chris said something about that. Like when we were at the boat ramp for duck camp, they told us to be there for like 5:15. Everybody was like there, ready to go, fed, fueled, ready to go at like 5 o'clock on the dot. And he was like, "Oh, you guys ready to go?" Like, yeah, you told us to be here. We're here. If you're late, you're early.
I
So
love that. I
um,
love that.
and that's what excites me about the AFI is we can tackle some really advanced projects. We're planning a cleanup. We're in the early stages of planning a kayak based cleanup in the Connecticut River with the Connecticut. I'm gonna let me Google this before I mess this up.
It's all good, man.
Raphael is heading this one up. He's my Connecticut rep because I live in Connecticut, but he is the Connecticut guy because I am, kind of managing what's going on in all our New England states. But the Connecticut River Con- Conservatory Controversy, we're going to be working with them to do
Awesome.
river cleanup with kayaks. Again, it's gonna be a long day, but again, we can pull for some assets that like we can go reach out to the military family readiness as an organization on each military base. They have like recreational tools. Well, we can call down to Groton and get access to 10 kayaks and be able to put 10, maybe some sailors from Groton, some veterans from Connecticut, put them in those kayaks. I need everybody here at 6 o'clock. Everyone's going to be there at 6 o'clock, and we're going to go out and put 8 hours of work in, and everyone's going to feel accomplished because we're going to be. There's that whole thing. You suffer together. It's going to be hot out. We're going to do it, and everyone's going to really bond through that event while having a positive impact on our environment.
Got it. What are some things that you think conservation wise are there to be available for AFI to address here in New England, or it could be just in general?
So I break it down to about two. Like we have two big focus points on what we want to do conservation wise. Number one is we want to find some really difficult conservation projects that require a little bit more planning and just operation. Like we have guys who are combat engineers who specialize in going and doing some hard work, like building some stuff. So our goal is to kind of isolate and target some of those events, like those specific conservation things we can do and go and do them.
Hmm.
Use our skill set of the government spent a lot of money teaching us how to be very good at our jobs.
Yeah.
Now, what's continued to use those skills to give back to our nation by taking care of our public lands and waters. Um, and the second thing we really want to target on is veterans hunting days. It's federal law to have a veterans hunting days, specifically for like waterfowl and turkey season. We're traditionally Massachusetts has them, but like there's a few states. Connecticut is one of them that doesn't have them. So they're technically out of federal statute right now. So in the next 2 to 3 years here, that's going to become a major policy push for us. Like that's something that we will get into on the policy front is it's very veteran specific. So our goal is going to be to work with the legislative body in Connecticut to get those veterans hunting days. So
I wonder why that hasn't happened yet.
it's a legislative false. It's like some states that don't really tackle their hunting laws a great deal. Connecticut's a great example. Um,
Hmm.
they might not just stay up to date on some stuff. I don't think it's anything like, oh, we got you. I think it's not been a top priority for the legislator. So as veterans, um we have a unique opportunity to make our voices known through different committees. Like I might not have to go to a conservation committee. I might have to send some letters like Chris was talking to the Veteran Services Committee. And
Gotcha.
it spreads our way to attack an issue out more. So we're definitely going to try to attack that. Not this year. We're in the building phase of New England right now. We're going to do a few events this year. We're operationally building. We still need to recruit some people in some states to help us out. We need to really boost our numbers. Recruiting is a very important drive for us right now, and we can talk about that in a few minutes.
Yeah, please.
But as we get more functional, we're on like a 2-year plan right now. At the end of that 2-year plan is when we're really going to start targeting with AFI nationally. There's plans to really go after those states that don't have those veterans hunting days and educate the legislators on them, educate them on why it's important, and get those laws changed so our veterans can take advantage of those special hunting days.
All right. Um, Cody, I'm gonna give you the mic here. Again, I'm fumbling a little bit. There's just so much I don't know. Um,
No, that's good. If
I
you have a question, just shoot it out. Like, stop me if I'm rambling too much.
I I don't think it's rambling at all. This is so informative. I want to hand the mic over to you. Tell us what events you have coming up and just other things that we need to know about AFI that you were just kind of starting to talk about a second ago.
Yeah, so I'll talk about first about like our recruitment situation here. We need more help, and that's the key. Is I have a representative from Vermont, I have a representative from Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Maine. We're talking with some folks who might come on as a New Hampshire vet, but we need a veteran or active duty guy in Rhode Island to help us out. Because I can't begin to spread and recruit within each state without having one person in said state. So you got our Instagram that I'll push out to you as well. My personal Instagram, like reach out to us. You have if someone's got questions and they're not sure they want to get involved, reach out to us. We'll gladly talk to you about our program. That's a lot of what we all have been doing is going to different events like a Ducks Unlimited dinner or just meeting with a different chapter of BHA. I met with the Connecticut chapter and sat down with them, the state leadership team, and talked to them about the AFI and veterans issues. And doing those things have helped spread our knowledge base.
Just
Following us
before,
on Instagram, spreading our message.
and just to add that, so the handles, if people are, I think people should just do it right now while they're listening. The handle for BHA New England is BHA underscore New England underscore AFI. And
Yeah, that's
then
it.
Cody, yours is Fonge in the field, correct?
Yep, that's me.
FONGE in the field.
Yeah, that's me. Um, but
Or
reach out to me
is it
or
supposed to be pronounced Fonge or Fonge?
Fanj. That's my
Fonge,
nickname.
gotcha. Cool,
Um,
cool. So
but
Fonge in the field to hit you up personally.
yeah, hit me up or hit the I have access to both accounts, and we would love to talk to anybody, any veteran active duty member, Gold Star family that wants to be involved. That's important to us. We want to grow and continue to plan events. We're limited to the events we can plan based on our bandwidth. Everyone's got jobs. But I gotta say, like, dedicated crew. These guys have been working wicked hard since we started. I think we had our first meeting 2 weeks after duck camp, and we've had a meeting every month since then. Like some great river cleanups being planned, a small game camp being planned in Vermont with some survival schools and with some survival skills in there. Um, which I went up to John's farm 2 weeks ago, and you want a reality check and a humbling experience real fast. Try to make a fire. Um,
Yeah, tell
I'll
us
give you
about that
John.
event.
Yeah, I'll give you John's info as well. He's a great another veteran-owned business up in Vermont, up in Bristol, the Bristol area of Vermont. I can never pronounce his farm's name, but his Instagram's the underscore fieldcraft farmer. Um, and John he was a Iraq and Haiti veteran in the Marine Corps, but after he got out of the service, he wanted to go up, so he went up to Vermont and moved up there. I strongly recommend you having him on. I'm one of those other people you can listen to forever. And he's very gifted survival instructor. And he taught Raphael and I some really. And Spencer went up, who's my Vermont guy, Spencer Como. He's kicking butt up there in Vermont. Um, went down Friday. Raphael and I went up Thursday and taught us some great fundamental survival skills that honestly you see someone do on a loan, but you actually don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
And as a hunter or an angler, it's kind of your duty to know how to survive for at least a night or two in the wilderness, because things can go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're in the very early stages of planning a canoe trip in the Allagash, up in the Maine wilderness, for next summer. And like, there's going to be like some survival fundamentals before we get. John's going to teach some survival fundamentals before we even get on that boat, those canoes, because it's legitimate. He showed us how to make some quick shelters. Awesome. Raphael took one of those rigs out to Montana with him. So just some great skills on like how to really use a survival knife, all the different things you can do. Can't recommend them enough. It's those things that every outdoorsman should know how to do.
Right.
Everybody, I think everyone should know how to do it, but every outdoorsman should. And it's cool. Again, that was a veteran specific event. Everybody there was a veteran. We got to connect, share in those bonds and things, talk about some serious stuff that happened. it was really cool event and make connections. And we're gonna be doing some really serious events up in Vermont over the next few years that we're really proud of.
You had mentioned veteran-owned business just now. Are there other veteran-owned businesses in New England that you'd like to give a shout out to?
Now, I don't know all of them. I'm sure there's a ton.
Yep.
But two that I've had personally is John's Farm. I'm gonna butcher the name, so um it's Acupeter Fieldcraft. It's the field. I gave you the Instagram tag, and then My Great Outdoors. Great call maker in Connecticut. Insane hand done duck calls. Does some beautiful work, and they sound insane. I really wish I won it on that Ducks Unlimited uh dinner. I'm definitely gonna be calling him coming duck season, have him make me one. But um, that's another part of our community is like helping people realize, hey, this is a space that you can go into the outdoors when you get out of the service.
Hmm.
Take it and run. Like John has a wonderful little farm up there, and My Great Outdoors is building some beautiful calls. So, and
All
there's
right.
more. We're learning more and more as I'm growing and meeting more people in New England. So let's do this again in a year, and I'll have a bigger list for you.
Sounds good. Yeah, we did an event in southern New Hampshire. It was the New Hampshire Outdoor Expo, and Hunt Light, AJ from Hunt Light, he makes
Yes, I'm calling him
saddles.
the next 2 days or so. He's potentially my New Hampshire guy. I'm hoping he is.
He's incredible, and his saddles are so light. I mean, it just fits the bill for the name. So quality stuff and quality dude. Yeah, I think you and him are gonna hit it off well.
I'm hoping. I really need some help. New Hampshire's a big state. It's an
Mhm.
important state. A lot of opportunities for hunting and fishing and backpacking. So we would love to really get a foothold up in New Hampshire and plan some events for kind of next year up there.
Gotcha. All right, what else about AFI that we need people to know about?
I think at the end of the day, like if you're a veteran or an active duty, or you're a family member of a veteran and active duty, and you're like, oh, this might not necessarily be their forte. Um, I don't think it hurts to come out and join BHA, join the AF, get that military membership, get our magazine. No, I have one somewhere around here. Get our magazine, the Backcountry Journal. Um, it's a great journal, and you get some really great stories in there. Read about like the work that is being done in conservation, and those folks might find a new home. They might find a new community that they can be a part of that can be really kind of beneficial to them. And that's what we want. Is we want to provide a community that gets stuff done, that helps guys and gals work through whatever they experience in the service, but helps them pursue that next mission that helps our nation. Because you and I both know, we can talk about the populations all day. We were talking about turkey hunting initially, and
Mhm.
like I would love for you to come down to Connecticut, but the flock, it's not doing all that great.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I saw like 17 flocks when I was in Vermont for like all 30 minutes. We saw like massive flocks with huge jakes.
Yep.
But South Connecticut, our population has been very hit with predators. So what work can we do to help beef up um, that infrastructure? Um, how did we have that impact?
Got it. What have some of like the testimonials been for people who've gotten involved with AFI?
So I can't. This is a story from a story, but they had a guy who went on one of our Western hunts, and he had some issues with his legs, and he got up in those mountains, and he was like, "I haven't felt that good in years," because I think it was just the idea of being in the outdoors, and it is proven, like it is scientifically proven that getting veterans and active duty folks, really anybody, doesn't have to be military, anyone who's experienced any form of like a serious injury, trauma, whatever that might be, in the outdoors at work. I mean, Congress has passed laws, which BHA helped advocate for, to get veterans access to outdoor training, access to outdoor therapies, um, because it works. And there's a lot of stories like that, guys who have you know experienced things. They've gone, and this has been immensely therapeutic for them. It's made them find a new passion that reinnovates what they want to do in life. I can say, me personally, getting involved with BHA is really making me rethink my post-military career. I'm gonna be a lifer, but 16 years is gonna go fast. Um, and I got my degree in public administration, and I did my whole research paper on how my town manages its land, my thesis. So like now I'm thinking, all right, well, I need to get another degree because I really want to be in the realm of conservation when I get out. And that's something that BHA opened me up to, is how important conservation is, so we can like my kids can have access when I have kids, that they can have access to this. Honestly, New England's beautiful.
Yes.
Like, and I think New England's really lacking. I think New England gets the short end of the stick when it comes to national conservation movements. I think people
Hmm.
don't think about us. They think about the West, rightfully so. The West has a lot of dynamic issues, but so does New England.
No
Um,
doubt.
from the preservation of the greens to the whites, to our striper population, a lot of important stuff. And I think both BHA and the AFI are going to play an incredibly important role, like um, protecting those resources. Because like, not to digress, like we go to Martha's Vineyard every summer for vacation, and there's a strip of beach there that's getting eroded every single day. Every year, it's more and more and more. And now, because of the classes I went to at Newburyport, I understand why that's happening. Like, I understand that, okay, the marsh has been diluted over so many years because we as humans, not knowing any better in the 1800s, we didn't have that technology or the science, we degraded the marsh. Now, what work can we do today to preserve that, what little we have left, to preserve that, so I can enjoy that with my kids, and hopefully my kids can enjoy that with their grandkids.
Yeah, I mean, you're a Meteor fan, and of course, Doug Duran.
Mm-hmm.
I think he has the best quote about that. He says, "It's not ours; it's just our turn," and
Yeah,
that's like
no,
his perspective on conservation. So, yeah, I
yeah,
can't agree anymore. And that's part of the reason we started our channel, was maybe not so much about the conservation efforts being overlooked or not being addressed, but more or less like I think New England does get kind of a shadow on it from a lot of like the Midwest and West hunting, fishing stuff that's going on. So I think in that respect, with what you're doing and what we're doing, there is some alignment in that, trying to remind people, hey, New England's still here and we got some issues and we need some backup.
yeah, no, and I think like what you're doing is awesome. And you talked about this the other with Chris, is like, it's community. Like, break it down to the smallest level. We have our little AFI community, it's veterans putting together, but now we can get plugged into the bigger BHA community. And now that now we meet people. Now that AFI guy decides, hey, I like being an AFI member, but I want to help lead a state leadership team. And then he gets connected with you, and he talks to another one of the small businesses, and then it has a ripple effect. And our strength is in our numbers. Like, I'm passionate about this. I believe that we are really, I know Chris fired me up big time on this. And I think New England as a region, I think we might be a little late to the party, being the oldest part of the country. Um, but we're getting together in a really big level. And that's why, thank you for doing your podcast, because it's really, I Google, like, every now and then you put in Spotify, like New England, whatever,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's never anything. And I Googled you, like I put it in, and I caught like you started doing this last year, right?
A couple years ago, we
22.
just haven't really
Yeah.
got liftoff until like last year and this year.
Yeah. So I listened to a few of yours then. I was like, oh, cool. Like New England stuff.
Heck yeah.
Um, so it's cool to hear that perspective.
Thank you.
Because that's the only way we're going to be able to tackle those issues, is as a community together as a whole.
For sure. Yeah, and part of the way I look at it too is like a lot of people are like trying to say they're very pro US and stuff, but they're like catching a bass with something made overseas in their grip and
Yeah.
grin. And I'm just kind of like, all right, I'm with you, but like let's get even more local than that. Let's catch that bass with something like made here in New England. It doesn't
Yeah.
get any better than that, in my opinion.
Yeah. And but that goes back to how we strengthen our community. Like, I would
Yep.
love, like, hunting equipment. Finding hunting equipment as a New Englander is tough. Finding a camouflage pattern that works, because
Yeah.
our seasons are all over the place.
Yeah.
I mean, First Light's kind of stepped up a little bit with some of the newer patterns, but still, like, as a rookie hunter, I was a self-taught hunter. for the longest
Same.
time. Deer hunter, self-taught. And there's nothing on a hunt in New England. Like what, what type of hunt should I use? Should I use a saddle? Should I use a permanent stand? And so many of the big hunting podcasts are like, that's great talking about cornfields, but I get hardwood for
Yeah, yeah. We have
miles.
we have to chase acorns around here. Yeah, we
Yeah.
don't have standing corn.
I got a cow field over there. Like that's what I got to work with.
Yeah.
And I got a bunch of stone walls from the 1600s. So like it's a task. And that's why it's pumped to see you like highlighting a lot of New England stuff. And that's why collectively, I think we're in a really good spot here to really over the next few years from some of the issues Chris talked about with our striped bass fisheries. Super important. I want to be the fish stripers forever. Um, hunting whitetails, Connecticut, we really don't have a problem. We have an over problem of whitetails, but we need to manage that population so CWD doesn't take hold.
Yeah, that was something I didn't know if we would talk about it during this or if we should try to get more people on and get some
If
like
you want to start dabbling in it, we can dabble in it a little bit.
I've just heard that there's threat of it coming into New England from the southern side of things. I don't know
Yeah.
anything beyond that.
So again, I believe there's been some reported cases in New York over the past few years. I can't speak to that, but one of the biggest things I've heard from the Connecticut folks is that like the reason we're allowed 4 deers in Connecticut.
Hmm.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Like, and if you do your season right, you can get an additional 2, and you can hunt until late January down in Greenwich
Okay.
because they have so many deer. Now, I hunt in the northeast corner here, so it's not it's a lot of private land, and like if you get your one, you're doing good.
Sure.
And it's a good healthy deer, don't get me wrong. But the lower part of the state's super just they got a really strong deer population. And I know people who tag out. I've talked to people who've tagged out in the first week in September 15th on archery.
To get in the four?
In the 4, $2, 2 does. Done.
Whoa.
Yeah. Well, you know, and that's nice because then you're not freezing your butt off come December. Um,
Sure.
but I've heard it. I'm not an expert on it. It's on my list. It's on my reading list. I have a stack of about 16 books right here and different articles on my desk I'm trying to chew through as fast as I can. And I got a CWD thesis on my desktop now, but it's an important issue. And like, cool, maybe that's something that like we can bring awareness from that. Like, Chris talked about the Pint Nights. Maybe that's something this fall that I host a Pint Night at one of those partners, Urban Lodge Brewing in Manchester, and I bring in the state deer biologist that they'll will come and talk to us to talk about CWD. So people know this is why it's important that we hunt. Um, I think conservation has a messaging dilemma.
Sure.
I think people think, oh, in order to be an environmentalist, you can't hunt and fish. We all know that's not true.
Yeah.
Hunting and fishing is super important to protect our environment. Like the only way we're going to CWD is bad. It's real bad. We've all seen the photos. It terrifies me that I might have to worry about hunting that one day.
I'm fearful of it too, man. Like last thing I want to do is have to go put a sample in just to have some venison.
Yeah,
It's
and then
just fearful.
like now you see the buck and you take the shot, and on the other side of his body was the CWD. You know,
Yeah.
so yeah, you're doing the favor and putting the thing down, but then you've now like Connecticut still hasn't talked about like what's going to happen, like what happens if I use a tag on that? Am I going to get that tag back?
Right.
Issues that will come up. And then the bear issue in Connecticut's another big thing. We don't have a bear season.
There's no bear season in Connecticut.
No, there's none. And we have a ton of bears. They are everywhere. They're just hanging out in trash and dumpsters. Our bear population is rampant. I think I'm in the CT hunting Facebook group, and I can't tell you how many people posted bears from their tree stands last year.
That I'm just kind of speechless about to learn that. There's so much I don't know, but bears
Yeah,
bears are just, I think, mismanaged, and there's always, well, not always, but most of the time it's an emotional thing. It's not always based in science, but they're not hunted.
correct. And I think, that's why I think organizations like BHA and the AFI are important because we can go and fight that good fight and educate individual so and so and why a bear season would be beneficial for our environment. It would
Hmm.
be, why our deer season's important. Why we stock pheasant, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Why hunting ducks. People love ducks, that's another one of those emotional connections. But they don't
Yeah.
understand like there's a reason we hunt ducks. There's a very controlled reason. The populations has been controlled. There's serious threats of avian flu. One of the reasons we help mitigate that through is by ethical hunting. Um, Especially with Canadian geese. I don't know what your daily bag limit is up there in New Hampshire, but in early season Connecticut, it's like 19 a day.
Dang. Yeah, I'm not sure. That's still an area I haven't dabbled in yet, but
That's
yeah,
fun. We'll have to get you down if I can get access
count
to
me
this
in.
one field this year. It's like 19 a day and you can fill it. I mean, it's over in like 15
Wow.
minutes, but
That doesn't sound so bad.
like all these big issues and we
Yeah.
together as a community can work and tackle them and really get in on them. And that's what motivates me about one, the AFI, and two, BHA across, and three, what you're doing. Like we're forming a community here that's going to be able to get things done. And from my experience working in politics, things get done on the grassroots level. Like 30 people who are passionate can sway an entire policy issue.
Hmm.
And like
Yeah,
Chris said, sometimes he's the only pro hunter in the room.
right. And the worst thing we can do is be silent about it because it gets nothing done.
No, nothing at
So
all.
um some upcoming AFI events we should keep our eyes out for.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that in the next month here, I've been saying this for like 3 months, but we're learning how to do this. We're gonna have our events calendar, so I'll be sure to tag you in it. But we're gonna have a river cleanup sometime in, I would say, the August window in Connecticut. We're gonna have a pint night tied in around there as well, down by the Groton Naval Base. Uh, all that stuff should be finalized and submitted to our bosses out in Missoula shortly here. We're gonna have our duck camp, and we're gonna have our small game event up and survival event up in Vermont. We're trying to get a deer camp in there. We're
Hmm.
trying really hard, but camps are logistically taxing, and that's why like Chris really taxed on it. Like, best way to help us out is if you are a guide or you're someone who's super knowledgeable in hunting method A, and you want to maybe help mentor some veterans in hunting. Maybe that doesn't have to be a camp. Maybe you said, hey, there's a veteran who wants to learn how to hunt, give them my number. That would really
Hmm.
help us out, like to build that network of mentors to help guys learn and get passionate about this.
And that's something a guide could contact you about. That's something you would
Yeah, a guy,
coordinate.
even it doesn't have to be a guy. It could be like someone who's been hunting deers for 15 years and they know it and they just want to share their knowledge. I mean,
Yep.
I've learned more from a gentleman who hunts the same stretch of private land that I hunt, and he's been hunting every season since 1965. And
Wow.
yeah, great dude, still climbs the tree. Like, and he tells me, he goes, it's gonna be a bad season. He told me that this year, walking into it. He goes, I'm just telling you how the acorns fall. It's gonna be a bad season. And sure enough, it was a terrible season. Like, it was a rough season for me in this stretch of land.
Hmm.
Um, so guys and gals like that are super important to help us spread that knowledge.
Okay, great. So it's not just to guide someone with a proven record. That's great.
Yeah, because I think we learn the most from anybody, you know.
Makes sense. All right, any last plugs or things you want to mention before we close it out?
Yeah, just if you're a active duty or a veteran or you're a family member of a veteran out there and you want, they can go on BHA's website. They can sign up for the AFI, and also reach out to our New England chapter on our Instagram handle or me personally, and we would love to get you in every active duty uh, veteran involved in our programs, so we can help build that community so we can have a positive impact on New England. And we're super excited. We're super motivated, and we're looking forward to having a really positive impact out here. So thanks for having me on. It means a lot to me and my team that you took the time to have me on today.
Oh, thank you. It's my honor and awesome, and thank you for what you do. Um,
Don't Best job ever.
um, yeah, let's definitely get on. After AFI gets a few more events under their belt, and I'd love to do some recap on some stuff you got coming up.
Yeah, would
Um,
love to have you out to an event to talk to some of the guys too. So
Great. All right, Cody, stay on after we finish recording. But
good.
everyone, thanks for listening. Cody, thank you to you and your team. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to people listening to this and learning more about AFI.